Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Kash Patel is the most incompetent FBI director in the country's history. I don't think it's really even close. He is also willing to go whatever lengths he can to exact retribution from anyone that he feels has personally wronged him. No qualms about abusing their position and bringing the full power of the state down on their perceived enemies. In fact, that's why Donald Trump got into the game to begin with. And he seems to have a partner in Kash Patel, because we are learning much more about how dangerous the administration's revenge campaign can get. The first development revolves around this bombshell report on Patel's tenure last month by Sarah Fitzpatrick of The Atlantic. More than 24 sources in and out of the FBI told Fitzpatrick Patel frequently disappeared from the job and drank to excess, that he was erratic, suspicious of others, and prone to jumping conclusions before he has necessary evidence. On multiple occasions in the past year, she wrote, members of a security detail had difficulty waking Patel because he was seemingly intoxicated. And, notably, a request for breaching equipment, normally used by SWAT and hostage rescue teams to quickly gain entry into buildings, was made last year because Patel had been unreachable behind locked doors, according to multiple people familiar with the request. Now, you might remember Patel issued a blanket denial. The Atlantic included that denial in their piece. Fitzpatrick in the magazine said, "We stand by our story," even said they had gotten corroboration from more sources after the story was published. Then Patel sued the magazine and the reporter for defamation for $250 million. A seemingly rushed, error-ridden lawsuit had a bunch of typos, misspellings in it that was ridiculed as an obvious ploy by most legal experts who read it. Today, things appear to have escalated because it's no longer the domain of a private lawsuit, but rather the government that represents all of us. According to exclusive reporting by MS Now reporters Carol Leonnig and Ken Delanian, Patel's FBI, which is to say our FBI, the American FBI, has now launched a criminal leak investigation into Sarah Fitzpatrick, the author of that Atlantic story, an investigation sources call, quote, highly unusual. It could now be used as an excuse to obtain Fitzpatrick's phone records, run her name and information through FBI databases, examine her social media contacts. With reporter Carol Leonnig about all of that in just a second. There's only one way to interpret it. It is an attempt to chill critical reporting. It is, obviously, a flagrant attack on the First Amendment. It is not the first time Kash Patel's FBI appears to have done this. Last month, you might remember, the New York Times reported the FBI launched a criminal stalking probe into one of the Times reporters for writing a story on Patel's girlfriend. Here is how Patel responded when asked about those allegations.
This same reporter delivered a baseless story which caused a direct threat of life to my girlfriend. We are going to protect not only me and my loved ones, but every American that is threatened. But here's the thing. Me and mine are like you and President Trump. We're as tough as they come. We're not going to stand down. We're not going to take it a knee on this one or anything.
Now, that probe went nowhere. The Times correctly called it what it was, the Trump administration examining whether to criminalize routine news gathering practices that are widely considered protected by the First Amendment. Apparently all because of Kash Patel's personal animus against reporters. But threatening reporters wasn't the only thing the FBI was up to today.
Federal agents are arresting people in that string of FBI raids across Virginia. This is all connected to an influential Democrat in the Commonwealth of Virginia, State Senator Louise Lucas. They are at her office executing warrants as a part of a major corruption probe.
Now, you see that picture there? The FBI agents in camouflage with long guns. Do you think that's necessary for this raid of the office? Here are those FBI agents this morning raiding the office of Louise Lucas. Look at them. 82-year-old state representative. You think you got to do that for that? Or do you think that's done for the cameras? Lucas, the second woman of color to serve in Virginia State Senate after growing up under Jim Crow. The move comes, as you might know, just 2 weeks after it was Lucas who almost more than anyone else led the successful push to redraw Virginia's congressional districts to favor Democrats to respond to the actions of Donald Trump and Republican state legislators to tip the playing field and in clear defiance of Donald Trump.
They started, we'll finish it. We would not be in this place if it had not been for Donald Trump and his shenanigans and trying to get what he called 5 new seats that he was entitled to. He ain't entitled. I'm sorry. He's entitled to anything.
In a statement responding to the raid, Lucas said, quote, "I've never been afraid to stand up to Donald Trump or anyone else that has tried to undermine our democracy," adding, "I am not backing down." The FBI says the raid is part of a years-long corruption investigation into Lucas and a bunch of local cannabis dispensaries in Virginia. And that may very well be the case, maybe. Do you trust them? Can anyone look at this FBI and this Justice Department right now in this moment and simply assume they are acting in good faith? Assume it's a coincidence these raids came shortly after the Virginia referendum Lucas led. Also, just a week after Patel giddily announced a new criminal indictment of longtime Trump critic and former FBI Director James Comey. Should we also wonder who tipped off a Fox News correspondent to the Lucas raid, after Fox was the only station on the scene in Southeast Virginia when the raid appeared to start? Now, again, whatever the facts turn out to be in this case, and again, I'm withholding judgment as to what the actual merit is. It is, of course, conceivable there's some wrongdoing here that was investigated. The thing about where we are right now, and I can't stress this enough, is that Trump and Blanche and Patel, the entire administration from the White House out down, have forfeited any presumption of regular order or good faith. In fact, they have created a presumption contrary to that. You must assume, as a rebuttable presumption, that what they're doing is retaliation, that the cases they're bringing aren't warranted. Because they want the most powerful law enforcement agency in the U.S. government to work for them personally and no one else. And they've been very clear about that.